into the way you play. So, next thing, can I drink some coffee?
Yes.
Or would you like a beer?
Yeah.
You tell me.
Depends if you want me to convey information accurately.
Hey, how about I just open it and you can drink it later on if you want? Okay.
No, it's very touching that you're offering me beer, but seriously, you don't know what you're unleashing here. If it doesn't start.
Says the guy with the Part2 shirt.
Okay. That's a weird temperature. So, let's look at scales for a minute. I get a lot of questions about scales, which sometimes bother me slightly because they feel like questions that you would ask if you'd been misguided somehow. The scale is kind of the alphabet. If you want to write a poem that's going to move 1 million people and be remembered hundreds of years from now, you will need to know the alphabet. But typing the alphabet over and over and over again, A, B, C, D, E, to see how fast you can do it, is probably not ever going to yield the works of T.S. Eliot. All right, there's something else. So I think it's healthy to accept the limitations of the scale, accept the things that it can do for you and the things it can't do for you. And, well, if you look around you for a moment, you may have noticed that this is predominantly a male activity. All right. We are kind of cursed by a certain hormonal warrior mentality, gunslinger kind of thing, where if you give a guy with an instrument a scale, we're kind of programmed somehow on a very primal level to say, right, this is a scale, I'm going to learn the scale, and then I'm going to learn how to play it really fast, and then other guitar players will fear me. All right? It's okay. It's not a personal failing in anyone. It's just we're kind of programmed to be a little bit like that. It's an instinct. And unfortunately, if that's what you do with every piece of theory you meet, then you miss something, which is the fact that every note in a scale has a unique quality. I've never been a fan of this idea that there are, for argument's sake, 7 right notes and 5 wrong notes. If you take the most obvious scale in the world, which for most of us I would say is probably the minor pentatonic, it's our common language. Even if you disagree, even if it's not the first scale you think of, when you go to the bar later and they will be jamming, the unwritten understanding is everyone needs to know the A minor pentatonic, and then we can jam, and then we can communicate.
Right.
It's our shared cultural thing that we all have, right? And if you have this scale and you're trying to learn something about it, the smart thing is have some music so that when you play the scale you have some context and you can hear the scale in a real life situation. And the next thing is kind of fight against that instinct, play the scale as slowly as possible. Play a note and then just let it ring for 20 seconds. And that way you get this idea that all the right notes are not equal. They all have different jobs to play. I shall attempt to illustrate briefly. Let me think. We don't need delay for this.
That's my shit. That's my shit.
That's your shit.
Is it A minor enough yet? I don't know. Okay, so yeah, that'll do. Do you like my song?
Yeah, man.
So over that. Obviously, the best note in the world is the root. But if I just play the root all the time, you're going to get bored. You'll gradually excuse yourselves and go to the bar or whatever. So, yeah, okay, you know what key the song is in. What's so great about that? Tell me more. So, the most obvious note in the world is not enough. You've proved, beyond all reasonable doubt, that you know what key the song is in. What other flavours can you add? Arguably, the other notes that are actually in the chord will add a certain different kind of mood, but without challenging the listener too much. So if I play something with the fifth, it still sounds like I know what I'm doing, and you don't feel ill at ease when you hear me play that note. I can play it repeatedly, I can linger on it. It's not the root, but it's a bit like the root. It has that kind of solidity about it. And you discover that one of the most useful things about knowing the quality of each note is that when you end a phrase, you can decide how final you want that phrase to sound. It's like punctuation. Like which statements need a full stop, which statements have to be at the end of a paragraph, and which musical statements are those three little dots, the ellipses, that keep the listener waiting. It's like, what's coming next? So, arguably the third is the most melodic note you could play, because now you're acknowledging how happy or sad the chord is meant to be, and people seem to like that. A lot of times I've found that when a producer says, can you play something more melodic? And yes, it's definitely happened to me. Generally what they mean is, can you play the third of the chord more prominently in your phrases? And you give them that, and it's, oh, that's more like it. People want to hear the third of the chord. It's one of the prerequisites of an obvious and reassuring melody, I think. That leaves us, in the case of the minor pentatonic, we've got your root, we've got your happy or sad third, we've got your kind of obvious but not quite the root note fifth, and then we're left with that, which is not actually an A minor. So what I'm doing there is pimping A minor. I'm making it more expensive sounding. It doesn't sound as final as the other notes I played, but it's still not offensive.
Yeah, I'm like...
Whereas the fourth, go on.
Yeah.
You were saying, right? This, even though it's in the scale, it doesn't feel the same as the root note, and I can improvise for a moment, but accent the fourth a lot, and it will make you feel a certain way. So I'll do that, and then I'll stop, because the certain way that it's going to make you feel is not a way that I want you to feel. Because there's only one of me, and you are many. But, let's see. Oh, come on! Don't leave us hanging like this. And I'll be right back after the commercials. All right. But then, when I play that, you feel like you've earned it. It's like, okay, we tolerated the weird note, and now you get the payoff at the end. It's like, there's your root note. Are you happy now? But I would argue that if I tease you with a note like the fourth for a while, and then give you the root note, you appreciate the root note more than if I just played root notes. So tension and release is an important thing. So even if a note in a scale sounds a bit weird, that doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. That just means listen to your inner music critic. You know, try and feel along with whatever you're playing. And whatever phrase you're playing, you know, ask yourself, do I want this to remain tense and weird? Do I want to tease people a little longer? Or have they suffered enough? Shall I give them a nice note? Now, all of this stuff is really obvious to you if you just listen to each note in the chord, in the scale, over the appropriate chord. But it's not obvious to you if you just learn a bunch of shapes and think, well, these are all the right notes. If I just use these notes, then no one will ever hear me make a mistake. You see what I mean? There's another layer to it. I don't like this binary idea that there are right notes and wrong notes, ones and zeros, because I think there's a whole spectrum of rightness and wrongness, and that's the fun. That's how you keep listeners interested. I can take this one step further. Arguably, lesson 2 in any Teach Yourself How to Be a Rock God electric guitar manual about soloing would be, congratulations, you know the minor pentatonic. Now this is the blues scale, which I think is a kind of a construct of Western classical music theory. I think we were trying to explain some sounds that came from a different part of the world, and the best way we could do it was to say, well, it's those 5 notes, and we'll add this. So now you have something that's potentially very dangerous. Would you like me to play it again?
Yeah.
Maybe if I play it an octave higher, it will sound nice. Come on, let's be fair. It's in the scale, it's a right note, but it sure as hell doesn't sound like a right note, because I'm using it wrong. If I play this kind of thing... Hopefully that sounds like I knew the song was in A minor and I didn't play any mistakes. So, still using that note, but one of the instincts that you develop for notes like that is, if I'm going to play this, it will sound disgusting, so I need to be thinking like 1 or 2 moves ahead, like a good chess player. So if I'm going to commit by playing this note, do I have a reason? Where am I going after this note? My other piece of hippie wisdom for the day